All right, good evening and welcome to Management and Cost Accounting, ladies and gentlemen. So we are still on and about joint and byproducts. So please just go through the notes that I sent there in the group. Very important. And remember what I said the previous session that we had. I said when it comes to joint and byproducts, the most important thing that we need to focus on there is just the basic calculations for starters, right? Just getting the numbers right. But over and above that, we need to know the different methods that we can use to allocate costs between joint products, right? Of which we identified 4 methods, and I said 3 of them are important. So I think I only included 3 of them there. So which is the net realizable value, which is the one that we had in the assignment, probably the one that we have here also on this question that I would like us to go through together. And then the other one, the physical measures, right? The physical measures, and then the sales revenue. So on the notes there, you will see the different circumstances under which the physical measures can work, and then the different advantages that net realizable value and the sales value has. And of course, which is circumstances under which that one works, right? So you are going to see that clearly explained on the notes. So that's basically the advantages and disadvantages of those methods, right? And then the last part, I think we conclude by talking about how that is not quite relevant for decision making, because decision making, we normally talk about relevant costs, right? We talk about relevant costs. So those ones are irrelevant costs. They basically work in terms of the costing of inventory. Doesn't help much in terms of making other decisions over and above just the costing of inventory, right? So just check that out. And then the last important thing there would be about the treatment of byproducts, right? The treatment of byproducts. So what the marker wants to see there is how you're going to treat the revenue got or the revenue derived from byproducts and the expenses, which in particular are the further costs of byproducts. So which means if you want to talk about further costs, then you need to know what the split off point is. So which takes us to the definition. So you need to know the definition again. What is a joint product and what is a byproduct, the difference between those two. So you just need to know that. Sometimes you are not going to be told that this is a joint product or this is a byproduct, but the scenario is going to allude to circumstances that suggest that one of the products is a byproduct and the others are joint products. So question A here. So this here, I think I'm going to have you go through right between today and the next session. But I'm just going to break it down how I want it to be answered, right? So that when we have the discussion, I would love us to have back and forth. So this has got answers, so you can as well check the answers. But over and above that, I think I'll still need to hear your thoughts and questions, right? Your thoughts and questions on that. Okay, A, briefly discuss the characteristics, classification, and the treatment of products, chaff, in the management accounting records of Umbulo Milling. So I don't know what chaff is, but we can as well look it up there and check. But when we talk about the characteristics, the classification, and the treatment, so it's probably got to do with joint and byproduct. So is it a joint product? If it's a joint product, then that's the classification. What are the characteristics of a joint product? Then how do we treat it in the records, right? So when we talk about the treatment in the records, we would like you to mention what kind of, how you allocate costs, if you're going to be allocating costs to it. And then what about the revenue from that product? How do you treat that one? So this is what we want to know then on that question. So if you find out that it's a byproduct, it probably is. Chaff sounds like something that would be a byproduct. So if it's a byproduct, do find out for us how the treatment is, right? You should be able to describe how a byproduct needs to be treated, right? But don't just stop there. Read also around the joint product. How would you treat a joint product? in that regard, just in case you are asked about joint product. Okay. And then part B now says, prepare the actual direct costing income statement of Umbulo Milling for the month ended 31 May 2017. Joint costs are apportioned to joint products on the basis of net realizable value at split of plant. Right, so the total column is required, show all your working. So this is what I want you to go through now. So this is how you will do this one. There's an answer there at the back, right? But I don't want you to start off there. So you are required to prepare the actual direct costing income statement. So this is also covered on your MAC 2601, where they distinguish between the absorption costing and direct costing. So direct costing is the one that gives you contribution, right? And then from your contribution, you deduct what you deduct, your fixed expenses, and then you arrive at your profit. So just check the format out, not from the answer sheet, just check the format out from elsewhere, maybe the study guide or the text. Just check the format out for direct costing income statement, and then do that one, right? And then after that, you can then compare your answers. So I think with the first part, probably up until contribution, it's gonna be very easy, right? Contribution is gonna be very easy because this is something that's, they'll normally ask you this at second level, right? So with the brain that you have now, development that you have now, it should be fairly easy. Why so? You know, the good thing with this is, with these modules is, once you have adjusted your mind to doing something that you think is fairly difficult, something like 3701, once they give you something that's for 2601, even if you didn't start it, you can automatically just pull out the answers from your head like that, because your mind is already geared up, right? So that part up until contribution, I take it that it's going to be fairly easy, because the main focus here is going to be on the joint products, right? The joint product. So remember how we did it now in the assignment. Think about how you get your net realizable value. It's there on the notes, right? How you arrive at your net realizable value, which is going to be your sales amount minus your further costs, right? Your further costs. And then from there, allocate those costs, and then we see where that one takes you. So it's a fairly good question with 20 marks, right? Then after you are done with that, then you can check the answer and see where you are in agreement with the answer. And then if you're at odds with the answer, then you can see if it's something that you understand. If it's something that you don't understand, then you can always ask me on that side. I should be able to pull through for you on that one. But it's fairly easy, by the way. It's fairly easy. So direct, remember, you want to your contribution, so which is where this one is going to come in, right? If your joint cost, that's where that one is going to come in. Right, and then the other one, so please put a thumb in this. This is what you can do. The important thing with this here, all that you need to do with management accounting is at least to have attempted the question, right? This is all that you need to do. Just attempt the question. I'm not asking you to get everything right, but just to attempt the question is enough, right? To put us all on the same page. Just attempt the question, and then we see where we are missing each other there on that question, and then from there we will pick it up from there. Ayanda, can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Sorry, maybe it's the network that's acting up. But I suppose you can hear me now. All right, and then there's the other question. Yes, now I can hear you. That's perfect. Then there's the other question that I put up again in the group for MAC 3761, right? So the question paper on MAC 3761. So, all right, MAC 3761. Let me just check it and share it there. The stuff that I want you to check out. So this one again is very important for the reasons that I'm gonna mention, right? For the reason that I'm gonna mention. Let me just. Okay, so that was October, November paper, right? So, but here we are focusing on costing, right? Focusing on the costing. All right, it was very interesting. Right here, let's see, question A was with reference to the information under extract from the business case. So how I'm getting to this question now is basically how you need to be answering this question, right? When you get a question paper, just skip through all this for starters. Yeah? Skip through all this, go to the questions and scan through the questions and see which ones you want to answer first. So with reference to the information under extract from the business case of SF Winery, that's in section 1 above, draft a memorandum. You're going to be doing a lot of memorandums in this module. It's likely that the exam that you're going to get or the test is going to require you to do a memorandum. To the management of SF, wherein you recommend and motivate the most appropriate costing system that SF Winery should use for the allocation of production costs, right, of SWW and GJ. Calculations are not required. All right, very good. So I was actually gonna allow us to leave this one out, but since this is gonna be kind of a homework, I think it's nice. I think it's important because we have covered this. All right, so your motivation using information must incorporate a discussion of points from the information that supports your recommendation, an outline of the cost accounting treatment of different products outlined in the extract of the business case of SF Wineries, then identification of possible methods of allocating costs to SWW and GJ, right, and reference to the supporting figures from the information where necessary. So you see, they are not telling you about costing methods. They expect that you know these costing methods. So they are saying recommend, right? Recommend. They're basically saying recommend and motivate the most appropriate costing system. So, like I always say, you are going to be looking at the advantages and disadvantages of the different costing systems. How you can, the key word there is allocate, right? Allocating production costs. So if you want to be searching that on the textbook or in the notes, then look for the methods of allocating production costs to different products, right? That's what you are basically looking for. And then if you're going to be motivating, then look at the advantages of those methods. And then try and see which one would best suit the circumstance there, right? Which one would best suit the circumstance in the scenario, right? Is it method and then you say method is good because of A, B, C, T, right? And then the other method is not so good because A, B, C, T. So usually the advantages of one method are the disadvantages of the other method. So that will make it easier for you, right? I dare you to even Google search this, right? Just give that one a try. So this is 13 marks. So I would expect that maybe you can come up with 6 or 7 points in that. Then we can motivate those points. So under the assumption that this is going to give us 2 marks per point. So 1 point for identifying possibly the recommendation. Oh, okay, wait, they say motivation, 10 marks, recommendation, 1 mark. Okay, so I suppose in that case, now I just don't see how. Oh, okay, it's fine. Recommendation is 1 mark. So we are recommending for 1 mark, we are basically recommending a costing system. And then we motivate it with 10 marks, right? So which means with 10 marks, you can basically come up with 5 points there. 5 points, 6 or 7 points. for the advantages, right? And then of course for the layout, they're gonna give us a free 2 marks there. So just have that in mind. Just have something written down on the side for the next session for part A there, right? And then what I actually wanted us to do now, so which we are gonna add, because we have a week now between today and the next session, so there's enough time. With regard to the irrigation cost estimation of SF Winery, determine the annual irrigation costs for each of the 2 given options and recommends the most financially viable option of the 2 for SF Winery water supply requirements. Right. So you will then go on the scenario there, and then you will see the options that are given, 2 options that are given there. And then you basically want to pull those costs together for the 2 options. This is what it's basically asking us. So why I want us to do this, because most of what we're going to be doing in management accounting is identifying costs and pulling up costs together. You remember when we were doing the assignment there, when we were saying sometimes some of these things are going to be, in this case, because we're dealing with water, we need to learn how to treat millimeters, right? Sometimes millimeters need to be converted to liters up until you probably get something per unit. You see, so this is what I want us to check out there and to practice our brains on, kind of put our heads around that. You see, sometimes it's going to be centimeters, kgs, you see. So we need to be able to apply whatever method we are going to use there. We need to be able to apply. So just do something on that one, and then we are going to compare the solution that I'm going to put up for that and yours on the next session. So, but again, if there's anything that you don't understand that you need clarification on the question, not the full answer, right? Maybe if there's a part that you feel like it needs to be clarified for you, then you can come to my inbox and we talk about it, right? And then, but when we meet next week, then you must have your full solution, and then questions ready, just in case we are gonna be differing on the solutions. I'm gonna be ready to defend my solutions. So if you are also doing your solution, here is the trick. Again, one trick that can help you pass this module. Once you have a solution, or any module, for instance, once you have a solution, be in a position to defend the solution, right? In other words, have a basis. If you say you need to multiply 5 and 10, there, have some logical basis as to why you are doing that, right? Be able to explain it to the next person, why you're going to be multiplying 5 and 10. Just in case I come and I say it has to be 10 divided by 5, then you also have an argument, you also have a side to say, right? If I'm wrong, then I'll make an adjustment, and then if you are wrong also, it's a lesson that you will never forget. That's the one advantage on that. So which is why we want to do these exercises. All right, I don't know if there are any questions. So it's A and B, right? It's A and B. So B, then you can do part 1 and part 2, right? Do part 1 and part 2. So just have your solution ready on that. Your solution and your questions ready on that with regards to this here, right? So the 2 things, it's the question on joint and byproduct, of which that one I said it's fairly easy, right? It's straightforward, nice because it even has an answer, right? So you can reason your way to the solution there. But on going through those notes, I think the simplest, all methods are simple. Maybe it's good that we are doing the net realizable value, because of all the methods, I think it's the one that's a little bit complicated. Complicated only because you need to subtract further costs. Other than that, nothing complicated on that, right? But when it comes to physical measures and the sales value, then you can just look at that. Then remember the advantages and disadvantages of each, which are the circumstances under which those methods work, those different methods work, right? And then from there, you are on this one on the costs, right? So remember, I was warning, I think, beginning of the session that, not beginning of the session, beginning of the module, that the way they ask their theory, it's not really straightforward. So you need to reason out and get some hints there as to what they want, and then you can be able to search out the information. So university is about research anyway, right? It's about research. So you look up a word, you see a word, it gives you a clue as to what they want, and then from there you pick it up from there. So 13 marks are up for grabs there on question A. And then question B, this is your favorite, right? Calculations. So just have a look at that. So what questions do you guys have before we conclude our session? What questions do you guys have tonight? Somebody or anybody, any clarification that you need on that? So it's gonna be some good brain exercise for you, right there, some good brain exercise for you. And like I said, do come to me. Now I want to add to that statement. I said, do come to me with questions. Let me qualify that with very few questions, right? I want most of it to be your work. Right? I want most of it to be your work. So bring in very few questions. I actually prefer queries. Right? I prefer a lot of queries on our next session when I provide answers. I expect to be quizzed on the queries. Right? I'm expecting you to be saying, no, I don't agree with this figure. Where is this one coming from? Or I agree with this one. I also got the same thing. This was my thought on this. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's 8:02. So I think then let me leave the rest of the night to you. So just don't forget the stuff that I posted that you need to do. So I think everything that you need there is already on the notes, right? On the notes. All right, bye and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye.